All right. Am I on? Yeah. Welcome to Redox Nurse Talk. I'm Doria Stewart, a registered nurse here in Atlanta, Georgia, and I've got my wonderful partner, Cindy Reed, an RN in Nashville. And we are independent associates with a global research cellular health company called ASEA. And our company owns the space of having the only one cell signaling technology in the world. And our mission is to educate the public on the benefits of this breakthrough technology so that you can make an informed decision for your overall health and vitality. What you're about to hear is not intended to treat, diagnose, or cure anything. It's a gift of hope. Cindy's got it behind her, and I've got it right here. So everyone deserves to know about it. So we thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us. And so each week we have the honor to host a guest that's been impacted by this cellular health technology called Redox. And we have Dr. Dick Walker, medical physician. And usually we show a video to kind of pique your interest, to give you a little glimpse of what redox signaling molecules are. But we really are honored to have Dr. Dick Walker on, and so we want to allow him to share with us more about the benefits of the technology. And like I said, Cindy will be conducting that interview. And as he's speaking, if you'll go ahead and put your questions in the chat, if we have time at the end, we will pose those to him. So I'll put the video in that we typically watch every week, which is called realredoxresults.com, so that if you are new on this or Zoom this evening and you've been invited by other people, then you'll have an opportunity to go there and see some other testimonies. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Miss Cindy.
Thank you, Doria, and welcome everyone. Like Doria said, we appreciate you taking your time tonight. So we have an awesome guest, and all of our guests are awesome, Dr. Dick Walker. And Dr. Walker has a very extensive bio, and I'm sure tonight is going to have some excellent testimonies. And like Doria said, we will allow time for questions and answers through the chat. So Dr. Walker has practiced emergency medicine for over 35 years, during which he was board certified in two specialties, emergency medicine and internal medicine. He also has a master's degree in preventative medicine and nutrition. He was a high altitude mountaineer and a wilderness medicine specialist. He has climbed mountains all over the world and has been the doctor on many of the expeditions, including Antarctica and Mount Everest. He sought out alternative health solutions after he was almost killed in a mountaineering accident in Canada, and he credits ASEA with his good health now. He loves the idea of residual income, and he always says that doctors are just highly paid hourly workers, never having time for vacation or holidays or time off to spend with families. Dr. Walker and his wife Nancy reside in Spokane, Washington, and are both outdoor enthusiasts. They enjoy sharing these activities with their 4 children, millennial-age children, and their grandson, all of whom enjoy using the ASEA products to enhance their wellness. Dr. Dick has shared his remarkable technology with many who are now experiencing remarkable better health. He's very pleased to have helped many on their team to achieve their own personal dreams and desires as a reward for their efforts in bringing ASEA to other people. The technology and the opportunity that will revolutionize the way people protect and enhance their health and their financial well-being is becoming awesome just with what they're doing. So, Dr. Walker, there are a lot of things. And when were you introduced to this technology?
Yeah, you froze up for a second there, or my screen did, one or the other. But I was first introduced about 12 years ago or so, I guess it was. And I was kind of primed for that for 2 reasons. Number one, all health, both good and bad, starts at the cellular level. So any company that promotes themselves as a cellular health company would get my attention. But I've also always liked the business concept of network marketing. I've always liked to leverage things in my life. And as an ER doc, it's kind of hard to leverage your time. You put in an hour, you get paid for an hour. You can't really do any better than that. I did start a couple of urgent care centers to try to leverage, and ended up just spending a lot of money, and was able to sell those, fortunately. But, I I started to see references to redox when I started to get worried about aging. Because from my bio, I like to do tough things like climb mountains. I like to whitewater raft. I like to do things that requires a pretty healthy body. And I was 64, looking at 65, and my body was starting to say, "Hey, Dick Walker, you may have to start thinking about slowing down." And I didn't like that message, and so I was looking for ways to, enhance my health. I've always been into natural things and vitamins, alternative ways to stay healthy and help other people to get their health back. And I started to see some references to the role that inflammation plays in ill health, the role it plays in aging, and started to see references to redox biology as having an impact on that, even though a lot of the research that we have now was still kind of in the offing. But there was still a fair amount of research in 2010, 11, 13 in that neighborhood. And I was intrigued by it, but I didn't know there was a company that had a redox product. And tell a friend of mine who was a research physical therapist, many of you know him, Jerry White, called me up and said, "Hey, I want you to take a look at something. It's a new emerging technology. It has to do with what they call redox signaling molecules." And the term redox caught my attention because I didn't know that any company had a way to, in any way, supplement or work with redox molecules. And I was also looking for another direct sales referral network marketing type company because the company I'd been with had some setbacks. And so I moved out of that industry and was working an ungodly number of hours in the emergency room, but was always open and looking for a new company. But my criteria were pretty high. It had to be a unique product that nobody else had. It had to be something that definitely had an impact. The company had to be, I wanted the people that were running the company to be really top notch. And so I had a list of about 10 different things. And Jerry knew that. He said, "I think this company hits all 10 of them. Would you like to fly down to Salt Lake and take a look?" And I said, "Yeah, by all means." And so that was the start of my journey with ASEA. I came home with a couple of blue bottles of ASEA Redox. My wife had been approached a year maybe before that by Denny Robinson. Denny brought over a case of ASEA, and Nancy said, "What's it do?" And she said everything, and she left a case, and really that was about all she said. And we both tasted it and didn't think it tasted very good, and that was the end of that. We took that case of ASEA back, and then it was a while later when I realized what was actually in those blue bottles and why I should have paid attention to it. But it wasn't. It was less than a year later that I really went to Salt Lake and met Vertus Norton, met the research team there, and came away pretty excited about Redox. So that was my introduction. I had no negative thoughts about network marketing. I was on the lookout for a good, solid network marketing company, and I was open to Redox because I knew a little bit about it. Not a lot, but what I knew was good. So that was why I jumped in and joined and started sharing Redox and going to opportunity meetings, hearing all kinds of amazing testimonials, and got really excited about it. So
Okay. Dr. Walker, when did you retire
I
from your
retired. I
medicine?
retired when I was 65, so I'm 76 now. So 11 years ago. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I was just wondering because somewhere I heard you say that redox was one of the safest things that you've ever recommended for your patients. When you did that, were your patients open to using this?
I couldn't work it into my ER practice. Number one, the
It's
hospital
very
really wouldn't
invasive.
have minded, but some of my partners would have minded. And quite frankly, in the emergency room, you're really pushed for time. And this takes an explanation, and you don't have time in the ER. I would pick out people that I knew would benefit from this and sometimes call them. But like I said, I did have a couple of urgent care centers, and I would bring it up there when I had control of my time. But we started doing meetings at home and calling people that I knew had problems that weren't responding in a really good way to Western medicine. And we just started having people come over to the house. And that's how we started our business. And Denny Robinson had a meeting, a once a week meeting in Spokane that we could invite people to as a second look. And that was really the model that we used in the first couple of years of building our business.
Okay. I have a question. Reading your bio, you have a degree in preventative medicine. How would you describe preventative medicine to our audience?
Well, preventive medicine is much more now than it was back in the early 80s when I did that. Preventive medicine back then was mostly public health, nutrition, and really, lifestyle things. There really wasn't the plethora of products now available to help people to stay healthy. So it was really a degree program that I put together with my advisor, my curriculum advisor, and statistics and nutrition and biochemistry and that sort of thing. But it was, I think, to call it a solid preventive medicine degree is stretching it a little bit, but it was the best I could do back then. So yeah.
I just thought that was very interesting. And
Mm.
you said you are a wilderness medicine specialist. What exactly is that?
Well, that's a self-taught really is learning how to do really being really very good at advanced first aid plus drugs. An EMT can do a lot of wilderness medicine, but they can't bring pharmaceuticals into it. But I could, so my first aid kit on expeditions was included some pharmaceuticals and a more robust ability to treat people if they had problems out in the woods where they were far away. As you can imagine, if you're climbing Mount Everest or you're in Antarctica, you're a long way away from any medical, any hospitals or anything like that. So you got to do what you can do, and that's really where the specialty of wilderness medicine kind of came to the fore. That was really just developing when I got involved with that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know your wife has had some pretty good results with Redox. Can you tell us about your personal, and you can share Nancy's if you'd like, but what have y'all noticed with the technology?
It was, I'd been searching for something to help Nancy for quite some time because I really hadn't been able to help her a lot with everything that I knew, both conventional and non-conventional. And she had a condition that caused her to hurt all over, chronic fatigue, and and this was something that came on sort of out of the blue. I mean, she did a lot of the things that I did in terms of hiking. She drew the line at going off for 2 or 3 months to climb a big mountain, but she's climbed Mount Rainier, and done a lot of pretty heavy duty backpacking with me. But all of a sudden she got whatever you want to call it. Some people called it fibromyalgia, some people call it a chronic fatigue. It seemed to be a mixture of those things, which I never really thought was a real disease. I used to sort of poo-poo that until Nancy came down with that constellation of symptoms, and really nothing that we tried helped. And then I was at an ASEA opportunity meeting, and a couple of people stood up and gave a testimony, people that had similar type problems and had good results with ASEA. And so I said, Nance, what the heck? Number one, I want you to talk to these people, because I was going to these meetings. Nancy didn't join my business until I turned diamond. So she hadn't been hearing all these great stories. And I said, I just want you to try this. And she did, and things started to turn around pretty quickly, but not dramatically until she increased her dose. And we were at a meeting. This was back when Gary Samuelson was involved, and Nancy was actually complaining to him that although she got some benefit with her fatigue, she really still hurt. And he said, well, you're not taking enough. And at that time, we were all pretty much taking the standard 4-ounce dose. I had doubled it and was recommending 8 ounces back then, mostly because I'm one of those guys that thinks that 4 ounces is good, 8 ounces has got to be better. and it had no downside, so why not try more? So I've taken 8 ounces or more from the beginning, but so we bumped her dose up to 16 ounces a day, and that's when things really turned around for her. And she's really not had any problem with that now for 10, 11 years. And if she does get a little bit of a relapse, she'll just bump her dose up for a week or so and gets things under control. But really, it's gone. I mean, it's essentially gone. She also had some trouble with breathing and was on several different asthma medicines periodically anyway. And the ASEA really helped that a great deal. She just was, all of a sudden she said, I'm just not needing those inhalers that I used to take all the time. And I said, well, that's really interesting because we really didn't, back in those days, we really didn't have real redox results. We didn't really know so much what this could do. We would go to a meeting and hear a testimony and we'd say, wow, it works for that too. That's pretty fascinating. And that's really how we kind of learned what the potential was for supplementing with redox signaling molecules and improving our cellular health through better cellular signaling. And so it was fascinating to discover all those things. And then, I mean, it was kind of weird because we had all of that, and then the science came along behind that to explain kind of why we were seeing those benefits. And I love Hunter's explanation of the keys on the piano, and how I used to say that excellent health was like a 5,000 piece puzzle, and unless you had all the pieces in there, or at least most of them, you weren't going to be really totally healthy. But the keys on the piano was a good way to explain that too. And redox seems to hit many of those keys quite effectively. And that's where we got to where we are now. It's just people experiencing this in a number of different ways, a number of different problems improving once they got their redox biology back into balance. And it really is all about balance and homeostasis and controlling inflammation. I think we're just at the tip of the iceberg in terms of research and showing what these molecules do. We know a lot about NRF2 and anti-inflammation and then all of that, but there's a number of different targets that we know we should be looking at, like brain-derived neurotrophic factors and insulin insensitivities and all of those things that the Torrey lab study showed that we probably would be good areas to start looking at with research. But as we know, research is very expensive and you can only go in so many directions at one time. So,
Dr. Walker, speaking of keys on the piano, I know there's a new product coming out, and I know you can't say anything, but what can you say about this new product coming out?
I can say that you're really going to love it. You're going to be impressed with it. That it works. It's basically a product to control pain by addressing the causes of the pain, and it works very quickly. And it's different than anything else we have. It is a redox product, but it's also different than what we have. And what ASEA has done, I'm also chairman of the medical professional board, and what ASEA has learned over the last 3 to 4 or 5 years, during COVID, when things kind of came to a slowdown, ASEA was really busy doing research, perfecting the whole process of creating redox signaling molecules, fine-tuning the electrical inputs, and purifying the water better and better, and all those things, which has made a better product. But they also came to realize that there can be different redox products, and somewhat based on which redox molecules are selected to be in those products. And this is the first of those kinds of products that ASEA is going to bring to market. So I think it's the first of many, or at least several products that can be focused redox products. We know when you take the supplement and you're opening up your body to all of the potential things that redox supplementation can do, that there are certain areas where it seems to do better than others. And I think those are all ripe for future research and future product developments. And this is the first one of those that we'll see. And I probably can't say too much more about that, but I think you're going to love the product, and it's going to be a very good product to demonstrate to new people the power of redox signaling. And you're going to love it for that reason. And you're going to definitely want to get some as soon as you can get your hands on it. Unfortunately, because I'm on the medical professional board, I just got 2 tubes of it in the mail. And we've been playing with it. Nancy has arthritic hands. She was a dental hygienist for years, and you can imagine pinching those instruments and descaling teeth for 30 some years. Their hands are kind of trashed, and the Renew 28 help, the ASEA help. But when she put that product on, within a few minutes, her hands felt a great deal better. So you're going to like the product. Yeah.
Well, I know we've talked about some of the 5 areas or pathways that, redox can address, and that's cardiovascular, immune, hormonal, inflammatory, digestive. Just imagine if we could really specifically hone in and target more so to those areas, what this could do. So I know we're just, like you said, we're on the edge of it blowing up the world with this. And I've heard this recently described as, so you can take supplements, but you still need the signaling to help everything communicate. But so redox is not just a supplement, it's a lifestyle, because and what they said, it is as important as the air and the water. We have to have it. You have to have the redox signaling. So it's just educating the world. And I think we're all on the same page here that are on here tonight. We're so passionate about this. But this business has also afforded you a few extra things, right? Like maybe towards the time freedom, but possibilities to travel the world.
Absolutely. And I say that, just one more word on the product. ASEA is not a nutritional product. It is a cell signaling supplement, but it's not nutrition. Nothing in ASEA has any nutritional value whatsoever. It enhances our body's ability to communicate at the cellular level. And I like to say cellular communications, redox signaling is a language of our cells, and redox signaling molecules are the words or the letters in that language. And unless you get the signaling down, all of these wonderful restorative pathways that are programmed into our genes, we just can't access them in the way that we need to be as healthy as we can be. And so that's what this product does, is it improves cellular communication. And by doing that, it enhances health in a number of different ways, simply by opening up pathways that are there. But the body doesn't know that they need those switches turned on so that the body can do what it needs to do to get its health back. I like to say that ASEA is a lifestyle product. And lifestyle is a 3-legged stool. One is health. And we see so many couples approaching retirement that can't do what they want to do because one of the couples is sick or just can't do things. Nancy and I just got back from a 2-week trip to Europe, had a great time. We were going from ache to faint, walking around cities like Budapest and Prague and Vienna. And I'm 76, and I was keeping up with other people that were quite a bit younger than I was, and having a great time. And a lot of that's due to ASEA. But the other 2 legs on that stool are time and money, because you can have excellent health but not be able to do the things that you want to do if you don't have time to do them, or you don't have the resources to enjoy that. And ASEA with the business can give you the time, and it can give you the financial resources. When I was working in the ER full time, I had money, and I had my health, but there were certain things that needed improvement, and ASEA helped that. I didn't have time because I was always working. And so ASEA really helped my freedom. The business really contributed to Nancy and my freedom, because I was able to cut back and then eventually retire, and without an income cut, in fact, with an income enhancement. And so ASEA really contributed to our freedom in terms of time and resources and health, because it really helped Nancy, I think, more than but it really helped me as well. I used to have a problem with my blood pressure and was on 3 different medicines. And after being on the ASEA for year and a half, almost 2 years, I didn't have that problem. And so, ASEA can do some wonderful things over time. And that's another lesson that I learned, is that ASEA is not a quick fix product, even though a lot of the testimonies we hear are people getting, big improvements in a short period of time. But again, that's the tip of the iceberg. The real benefits of this are when you stay on it for a long period of time, and things that you realize you have that didn't think you could do anything about start to get better. May you never know what you've prevented, because there's all of us are walking down a path towards some sort of chronic and degenerative disease. That's just the way our bodies work, unless we do something very proactive to counteract that. And the C is a huge part of that. So lifestyle, this really is a lifestyle product and company and business model, because you can have your health and time but no money. You can have money and time but no health, and you're not going to have the kind of freedom that you can have if you have all three of those. So
I love that analogy. That's so true. A lot of people seem to not realize that we are actually a research and development company more so than a network marketing company. We just use that route to distribute the product. But what do you tell people when they come back with that type of reservation about the company?
yeah, I mean, we definitely are a research and development product, but a research and development product can't exist without resources. Has to have money to fund that research. And when you've got a dynamite product like we have, that's a no-brainer, that you can, generate the capital or the resources you need to develop new products, to fund the research, to prove that the products work. It's a total package that we have here with the ASEA. But that's if without R&D, without research and development, ASEA wouldn't be where it is now. And they don't just go out and buy technology; they go out and fund research, because research is time and money intensive. I think most people don't understand how much research costs, especially when you've got live people that you're doing research on, and also basic science research like we've done with the cell cultures with NRF2. But research is expensive and it takes time. So SIA is definitely an R&D company, and it's I don't necessarily, I call us a referral marketing company. We're a direct sales referral marketing company, because nobody hears about ASEA unless somebody else tells them about it. And that's as true now as it was, 12, 14 years ago when the company started. It's a word of mouth referral marketing company, with an incredible breakthrough technology with products around that technology. And, ASEA has developed some other, some nutritional products like our VIA products and our cell performance. But our foundation technology, our main purpose as a company is redox signaling. Those others are important to your health and to your lifestyle, but they're not as important as redox is. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, Doria, I'm going to turn it over to you, let you ask some questions. And if you have questions, anyone out there, go ahead and put those in the chat. This is your time to ask the doctor, so don't let this slip away from you. Doria?
Okay, so Dr. Walker, can you simplify how we would share this with just a lay person? We're all medical, you and I and Cindy are medical. So how would we share this with a lay person? What redox signaling molecules is?
Well, I like I said, I call I call redox cell signaling a language of our cells, and I just say, most people realize that our body has the ability to fix and repair itself, given the right ingredients, and most people haven't thought of information and cellular communication. They haven't even thought of that. But I just bring up questions. How does your body know that it's got a problem? How does your body know that blood sugar needs to be regulated? How does it know that I mean, something as basic as how does your body know that you just almost cut your finger off if you have a wound? Well, pain is one of those, but that just shows you that you've got a problem. It does not orchestrate all of the things that have to happen for that wound to heal. And even if you get stitches, that wound is not going to heal unless your body's own restorative repair mechanisms are activated. If those aren't activated, when you went back in 10 days later to have the stitches taken out, it would just fall apart again, because there's a lot that has to happen for that wound to get repaired, and a lot of that is the right signaling. So I just try to get people into a conversation. Do you know anything about how your body does communicate? Do you understand that, if your cells are healthy, you'll be healthy, and if they're not, you're not? And just try to engage in a conversation. Just ask them if they have any health challenges, and start, getting into a conversation with that. Or you can have a financial conversation with them too. How's your life going? When was the last time you took a 2-week vacation and didn't have to worry about how to pay for it? That's a good opening line with people.
Yeah. You talked about aging and how most of us that are aging, I'm 68 and have a lot of degenerative type challenges. Is it ever too late for someone to start Redox?
No, it's never too late or too early, but it's certainly never too late. You may not get as much benefit if you're in your 80s or 90s, but you are going to get benefit. There's a concept out there. In fact, there's a word called inflam aging, because it really is inflammation that drives aging more than anything else. And we know that ASEA can really help control that. The NRF2 study proved that we can really dampen down oxidative stress, which is just the scientific word for inflammation. But inflammation drives aging, it drives disease, chronic and degenerative diseases. And so inflammation is your enemy, especially at the cellular level, and ASEA can address that quite better than anything else out there. Sure, you can take drugs that control inflammation, but they all have side effects, and ASEA has no side effects. It only has good effects. And it gets to the root cause. It doesn't just cover up the inflammation like a lot of drugs do.
Yeah. Is it true? I mean, I sometimes tell people, they say, well, I just got XYZ. And I say, no, you didn't really get XYZ because that's really been brewing at the cellular level for a very long time. You just started showing some symptomology related to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. When anybody gets that dreaded disease that starts with a C, they don't realize that they've had that for years before it shows up, or at least months if it's a fast growing one. But it didn't just occur overnight. And the body can take care of it much better if it addresses it when it first arises. And that's why the immune system is so important in taking care of our body so we don't develop those nasty problems. So.
Yes, right. So you said when you were working in the emergency room, you had other partners. Have you been able to share Redox with your colleagues?
With a few of them, yeah, there are a few of them that are open-minded. I wouldn't say that as a general rule of thumb that all or most of them are. What I find is that they become open oftentimes when they or one of their loved ones gets sick or has a challenge that isn't getting addressed with conventional medicine. Then they start to be open to looking at what else is out there. So it's still difficult to approach many physicians in particular, but it's getting better. But I would give you the advice that if you're going to talk with your physician or any physician about this, that you try to get another physician involved in that conversation, because it is kind of a tight club, and if you can talk physician to physician or nurse to nurse or whatever, oftentimes that's much easier. And there are tools out there. I've recorded some things that you can access, and that way. So, but I think they're opening up a bit more. But as a general rule, they're the toughest ones to get to open up and really look at this. And most of them don't. at least most of them from my generation and probably going back 20 years, didn't hear anything about redox in their training. I think they're getting a little bit of information in that, and not maybe in medical school, maybe some, but mostly in their basic science biology courses. Yeah.
All right, so you mentioned something about cell performance. So tell us about the telomeres. Does our cell performance help with our telomere length?
Yeah, it does help with that, and it helps maintain the integrity of the telomeres. Yeah. Yep. And I think ASEA probably does help in that area. We haven't done that research, but when you can control inflammation, you can benefit the cells in a lot of ways that we haven't even looked at yet. So,
Okay. Somebody's mentioned something about the skincare. I want to talk about the Renew 28 again, the gel. So we know that came out as an aesthetic product initially. So we've seen some great benefits from that. Have you ever witnessed someone that's had a scar, put Renew 28 on the scar and it disappeared?
absolutely. It doesn't happen overnight, but and Nancy has worked with the skincare quite extensively and gives some short half-an-hour seminars on that. The skincare is incredible, and the thing to remember is that when you apply Renew 28, a redox signaling product, to a scar or to any skin condition and it improves, that's just showing you what the power of what this can do throughout your body. Because if it can do it to your skin, it can do it on the inside as well. And so the application of Renew 28 to skin issues is just a billboard for what's happening inside your body when you drink these molecules. Most people, that's maybe hard for you to understand, but that's essentially proof that this works. And that's why, all those pictures that we show before and after are so important. Because if your outside of your body is improving and you're drinking these molecules or even applying them topically, the molecules get absorbed and they get to the inside your body as well. We knew, and that was when we opened up in Australia and all we had was Renew. People were having systemic improvements, not just skin improvements, and they were slathering their body with Renew 28. And that was because the molecules were absorbed through the skin and moving into the body, and through that cascading effect, we're giving benefits not just to the area of application, but to the entire body, really. So.
Yeah. I have one more question. So you've been in with ASEA from the very beginning, what, 14 years or maybe longer. So what is the most magnificent, I would just say, or a testimony that you thought, like, there's this, like, it was just so outstanding that you thought like this was impossible to happen. So can you share us a testimony that you of that sort?
There's been so many of them, it's hard to pick one. One that really still sticks in my mind is a testimony that I heard at one of the early meetings that I went to. In fact, it was one of the testimonies that got me to take this seriously, and it was a mom and her daughter. Her daughter had, the label was cerebral palsy, I believe. She had a lifelong disability, lived with her mom, and it was a full-time job for her mom to take care of her. And she started on Redox and started to help with the dishes, help cook, help, for years, this daughter had not even been able to talk to her mom, started to talk. I mean, it was a transformation you wouldn't have believed, and yet it was real, and it was clearly attributable to ASEA Redox because they hadn't changed anything else. I remember going to that meeting and then sitting down with that woman for probably half an hour after the meeting, just quizzing her and drilling her because, quite frankly, at first I didn't believe it, and yet it was very true. I got to meet the daughter, and it was amazing. Nancy's transformation was pretty amazing. My own getting rid of blood pressure issues and a few other, I was, when I was really active and climbing, I would work out intensively a couple times a day. I'd work out before I went to work. I'd work out after I got home. If I had time, I might even put in another run. And but my body wasn't letting me to do that. I started back on ASEA, and I started to be able to train like I had when I was 10, 15 years younger, which amazed me because I didn't think I'd ever have that, and I got that back. So yeah, it's pretty phenomenal.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Right, Cindy, I'm gonna let you see if there's
And
any questions in the chat.
the other thing that has amazed me is when people have had vascular issues in their head and get paralysis and that kind of thing, and the response sometimes that those people can have with ASEA, pretty dramatic. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
There was one question in the chat, and you may have answered it to a point. It says, does it help athletes? Well, it sounds like it helped you, didn't it?
It definitely helps athletes, and we've got some research to prove that. And I would say that the biggest improvement and the most common things that athletes notice is that their recovery is much quicker, and they recover much better and much quicker. Their performance is improved, but what they first notice and notice most significantly, I think, is that the recovery phase of their sport is definitely enhanced. Yeah,
Okay. And I know you use the skincare, correct? Okay.
absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
There's a
With
question that, though, it says, for the new product coming up, did ASEA partner with universities in doing the research?
Yes, and this has been in research and development for 3 years, so it isn't something that's just been thrown together in the last 6 months. This has been a concerted effort. I haven't seen the research yet, but I know that researching with university research partners around the world has become really part of their model. So,
Okay. Does anyone else have questions? This is your last chance. I don't see any more questions in the chat. This has been amazing, Dr. Walker. We appreciate you taking your time and doing this and sharing with us with your testimony. I know you've changed a lot of lives, you and Nancy both, with your journey through this technology and sharing it with the world. We will upload this to our YouTube channel. Anyone can go there and watch it tomorrow. We'll have it up. Doria, you want to introduce our guest for next week?
Sure, sure. So, and our handle on our YouTube channel is at Redox Nurse Talk. That's how you find us. And so next week's guest is Tammy Gates. She's a former hairdresser turned banker to an EMT and flight medic. So, and now she's full-time educating people on the benefits of ASEA Redox.
Okay, I do have a couple more questions that just popped in. If you have a minute, Dr. Walker, is it possible to get salt overdosed?
no, you mean sodium overdose with ASEA? No.
Yeah, they put salt. Yeah, sodium.
No, not possible.
Okay. It says, do you share your weekly interview with other medical experts in the past, and how can we access this recording? Oh, yes, like Doria said, go to our YouTube channel and type in at Redox Nurse Talk, and we will have it up tomorrow, and you're free to share that with anyone.
Great. Yep.
Does it work with people with memory challenges?
Yes.
Okay. Well, basically, it can work with potentially anything. We'll put it that way, right?
I guess the way to answer that is the way that I first learned from Gary Samuelson is there a cell involved in that problem? And if there is, then there's the potential for this to help. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
And I like what Dr. Lee Osler says. He's my upline, and he says it's impossible not to work. Yeah.
Dr. Walker, do you have a weekly webinar? That person was talking about your Dr. Walker's weekly webinar. I think they want to know where to access that.
I used to, and then I cut back on that, but there are some recordings, and they're on the same site where the ASEA 5 or the Redox 5 recordings are. My recordings are there. So
okay, so that would be redoxmatters.com.
Correct. Yep.
For anyone out there.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you again, Dr. Walker, and thank everyone for tuning in, and we will see you next Tuesday night.
Can I
Great.
ask the second part of that salt question? Somebody
Sure.
from Norway is texting me for someone from London who's asleep. Can you ask if it is possible to get salt overdosed when taking large amounts over longer period? He has been taking more than half a bottle for several months.
The answer is still no.
Great, thank you so much.
You bet.
I'll go ahead and stop our recording.